Well, hey, and welcome back to 40 Days of Prayer. This is day 26 in our 40-day journey, growing as a people of continual communion with the Father. Now, today we're going to continue our focus on Jesus in the garden, demonstrating for us what priestly prayer really looks like. John's record of Jesus' prayer begins with a prayer Jesus starts to pray for himself, that he would be equal to the task, ready for the moment, that he would, as he surrendered himself fully, God would be glorified. And then he goes on to pray for his disciples, those entrusted to him, that God would provide for them and protect them. Really important words of blessing, asking for that from the Father to give them all they need. And then in this last part of the prayer, which starts today in John chapter 17, verses 20, and runs through verse 26, Jesus begins to pray for all of us. In fact, he says in verse 20, "My prayer is not for them alone, not just for the disciples. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us so that the world may believe that you have sent me." I'll stop there. I do encourage you to read all of this and reflect on what Jesus is doing at the end of his prayer. But I want you to notice more than anything, I think that this prayer Jesus prayed started with an honest prayer about himself. And then it grew to include his disciples. And then here it grows to include all who would believe through their message. Think about who that is. Every Christian who has ever made a profession of faith in Jesus came to believe through their message. I mean, that is not just millions or billions, trillions. It can be counted. Untold numbers of people who have come to this faith. And Jesus, on the verge of going to the cross, prays for them. So what's he really doing? What's he modeling for us as a person, as a king of priestly prayer? I believe one of the things he's modeling for us is great faith. But also, Lord, he's modeling for us a priority in priestly prayer, and that is salvation. Ultimately, this is the point. The reason we find ourselves in this relationship with God is not just for our own good and our own glory and our own peace and joy, but so that we can then intercede for others to join us, for others to come to know the same joy, the same peace, right? So when you stop to think about your prayers, how often do you allow your prayers to extend to this extent? How often do you allow your prayers to be about salvation, and not just for those you know who are on your heart, but for those you don't know by name? How often do you pray bold prayers like this, that generations and nations would come to know Jesus, that we could all be one? That is no small prayer. And I think Jesus sets an example for us. In the garden, before he goes to the cross, he takes time to pray for you and me, thousands of years later, thousands of miles away. Who can you be praying for? How bold can you be in the presence of God? Remember, he longs to give good gifts to his children. So why not ask? Follow in Jesus' footsteps. Let's be people of priestly prayer who ask for salvation, and not just for us and ours, but for the whole world. Amen.